All right, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Logan White. I'm the marketing manager here at Mutually Human, and it is a pleasure to welcome you today to our webinar covering the trends we've been seeing surrounding technology and manufacturing. We know you're busy, especially this time of year, so we promise to be good stewards of your time. We have packed a lot of info into this, and just to give you a lay of the land, we're going to be covering three different technologies that we're seeing have outsized impacts on on manufacturing. We could talk about any of these topics for days, but we won't right now. These are just introductions to the technologies, kind of what they are, what their benefits are, and how they can affect your business. This is also to introduce ourselves to you, to open up a dialogue and let you know we're here to help. Only you know the unique challenges at your organization, but with any of these technologies, we want you to know that we are here to help with any and every step of the process, from recognizing potential applications to development, to execution and maintenance of the technology. We are your full service partner here at Mutually Human. Let's get started. We have a couple of housekeeping items to cover. First, this webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording tomorrow via email. Please feel free to share it with anyone you think might benefit from seeing it. Included in that email will also be a link to a survey that we'd love if you could fill out for us. We have just a few quick questions about your experience with the content of this webinar. In exchange for your time, you'll be entered to win one of 3 Amazon gift cards totaling $200 in value. You will also have an opportunity to fill out the survey immediately after this webinar concludes, but in case you have to jump off before the end, it will be sent out to you tomorrow as well. Additionally, if you have any questions about any of the content of this webinar as we go, please enter them in the chat. We will get to those at the very end of the webinar. And if you have to jump off, those will also be included in the recording that goes out tomorrow. So you can check that if you have to leave before your questions get answered. Yeah, let's get started. Up first is Lori Mackson, our Vice President and Director of UX Design. Lori will be giving you a brief introduction to custom software here at Mutually Human and how she's seeing that affect the capabilities and efficiency for manufacturers. Lori has led many custom software projects here at Mutually Human. There's truly no one better to give you a rundown on what's happening out there and also our capabilities. Lori.
All right. Well, thank you, Logan. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here. So we have a lot to go through, so I'm going to jump right in. As Logan mentioned, my job today is to give you a little insight as to how custom software can be used in the manufacturing space. So obviously, custom software is a big, broad initiative. It can include a lot of things. So first, let's set a little context. So Logan, if you can go to the next slide or give me control. There we go. So what is custom software? So we describe custom software as software that's designed and developed specifically for your unique business needs. So as opposed to commercial off-the-shelf software that's developed for the mass market, custom software is developed very specifically for your organization, for your process, and your users, whether those users are your employees or your customers. So custom software can come in many forms. A couple to highlight today are the areas that we've seen a lot of organizations investing in over the years. So first is the fully responsive web application. This is an application used in the browser, and it works really well across all devices. So your desktop, your laptop, your tablet, your phone, it'll resize and function really well across all those different devices. Another common form of custom software is the mobile application. So these are typically deployed to the Apple Store and Google Play, run really well on a phone or tablet. You probably have a lot of experience in that area. Software can also be built and deployed to a desktop or a workstation. So if you have a workstation on your production floor where software needs to be used, that can be a really great option. We've also worked with manufacturing organizations in the IoT space, so connecting to different devices, using software to control those different devices or machines, as well as in the fully embedded space. So let's talk a little bit about why companies tend to invest in custom software. So just like anything you might invest in your organization, you're probably looking at the big 3, right? You're looking at how can I reduce cost, increase revenue, and or retain customers. And the same is true with custom software. More specifically, when we look at custom software in the manufacturing industry, A few things that we've seen a lot of companies focusing on are listed here. So the first one here is increase efficiency and productivity. So especially with a lot of the workforce challenges out there today, many companies are looking to do more with the current staff they have, or honestly do more with less, right? Another area we see a lot of people focusing on is reducing human error and waste. So a lot of times we'll see processes that have a lot of manual steps, and human error, especially in the manufacturing industry, can cause inaccuracies and waste. And I have a case study I'll walk through that focuses on how a different organization implemented custom software to reduce human error. So the next two are often related, so revealing and scaling new opportunities and providing real-time insights to aid decisions. So we'll look at a case study about this as well. But really what this focuses on is giving organizations the insights that you need to be able to identify issues before they're problems. Really focusing on how can we help you be more proactive rather than reactive. We also see a lot of organizations investing to provide better customer service and increase the standardization of processes. So if you don't have the right tools in place, what you're doing is a lot of times leaving a lot of those operational decision making in the hands of individuals. And that can create a wide variety of process across your organization, right? Person A does it this way, person B does it a different way. Whereas when software is built specifically for your organization, it gives you the opportunity to standardize that process in a really repeatable way that's really easy to train, and it's consistent across all your employees. Another advantage here with custom software is you have control over how your software works, right? So versus off the shelf, you're really relying on what features they add to the platform. When you own your software, you own the roadmap. You have control over how the software works. You have control over which features you're going to add and how those features are going to function. You also have more security over your operations because you're deciding what data is stored and how and where that data is stored. So there's a lot of reasons organizations have invested in custom software. It really typically boils down to those top three: reducing costs, increasing revenue, and retaining customers. So today I have 3 case studies to share with you. Some of the names have obviously been changed to protect the innocent, and I can only share a high level of the work that we did with these organizations, but I think it'll give you enough information to see how other organizations have used custom software to help them achieve their business goals or solve different challenges in and around the manufacturing space. So first one here, I'd like you to meet Dave. So Dave leads the shipping function at a large organization. And one thing to note about the way Dave's organization functions is items need to be loaded into a truck in a very specific order. So if there's a shipment or if there's an order that's not ready to go onto the truck, it'll actually cause the whole process to stop and need to wait for that order. Let me read you Dave's challenge that Dave was facing. I have access to all the data I need. However, it's all over the place in different systems. On top of that, the data is a bunch of tables that I have to scroll through and interpret in order to get a clear picture of today's status. This makes it very difficult to view anything real time and even harder to identify issues before they arise. So you can see Dave is struggling not only with not having easy to view real-time status. Tables and spreadsheets can be great ways to store information, but they're often really hard to gather the insights you need from that type of presentation. And you heard Dave say his team was becoming too reactive instead of proactive. And this meant Dave's team wasn't really able to identify issues before they were a major problem on the floor. So let's look at a solution here for Dave. So like I mentioned, previously Dave would go to multiple different systems, go to multiple different tables, and now Dave has a dashboard. So a lot of times when people hear the word dashboard, you might picture charts and graphs. And at Mutually Human, we create a lot of different types of dashboards, including those strategic and analytical type dashboards that you're used to seeing. We also create operational dashboards, which is what you're seeing here today. Operational dashboards focus on real-time, at a glance, sort of a comprehensive snapshot of what's going on for a certain period of time. So for Dave here, we're looking at the performance for a day. So in order to provide all the data that you see on the screen here for Dave, we integrated into a couple different systems that they use to collect data. We're doing some calculations and we're building this screen in real time. So this solution represents a visual representation. Another thing that we find really valuable in the manufacturing space is mirroring the physical environment with the dashboard or with the different screens. So for example, we'll often incorporate the actual physical layout of a production floor, things like conveyor belts or loading docks into the design. So if you worked at this organization, you would be able to visually recognize where some of these different loading docks exist within their facility. And so now Dave has a really easy way to be able to view what's going on. So on that top row, you can see that's door 18. And at door 18, you can see all these green lines. That means that that door, all the orders on that conveyor belt are ready to go. So they're smooth sailing at door 18. Whereas the next row down, door 19, you can see there's some green lines, but there's a yellow line there that indicates an order that is in progress but not yet finished. Now Dave can click on that order and see what's going on, and he can go take corrective measures before that order gets all the way up to the truck and causes any delays. Next case study, we're going to meet Jesse. So Jesse leads a production team at a manufacturing company that produces plastics. So they manufacture a variety of different plastics, and they have different formulas or blends, as they call them. So let me read you Jesse's challenge here. We keep our blends for each of our products in spreadsheets. When we adjust a raw material, we have to manually update it across hundreds of files. Also, when a customer places an order in our system, we print out the order and manually enter it into the machine. One wrong number could produce thousands of dollars in waste. Not to mention, if that folder gets misplaced, it could mean missing shipments. So as you can see, Jesse's team was using a process that was wide open for human error. A couple of the main issues that Jesse's team was facing. The first one was really not having a centralized database of content. So you heard him mention when they would manage these blends, if raw material A was replaced, someone would need to go open hundreds of different Excel files and replace it within that formula and within that blend. And so if one of those files was missed and a customer ordered that blend, there would be issues on the floor causing significant delays or waste. In addition to that, there were so many manual inputs, right, and paper in the process. So you heard him mention they would print out an order, they would slide it into a folder. Someone would actually walk it from the sales department down to the production floor, set it next to a machine. So there was just so many manual steps that left them open to a lot of error. And really, it's an example of an organization trying to use a collection of different pieces of software and other workarounds that they had sort of cobbled together to support their process. And this is something we see a lot. So looking at a solution here for Jesse, a big part of this was creating software with that centralized database. So now the team can go in and manage all the raw materials, all the blend recipes, customer specific instructions, etc. So now when that raw material is replaced, an operator can go into the system, go into the inventory of raw materials, replace raw material A with raw material B, and that is automatically updated in all of the blends that use that material. This is another good example of a customer where the challenge they really set out to solve was this managing of their blends, but it's a good example of an organization that saw an opportunity to create software that not only solved that specific problem, but also to build software that supported their full process of their organization and their operations. So all the way from sales to production. So building something that was a seamless process that the software supported that would take the order all the way through that process. Next case study here, I'd like you to meet Deb. So Deb manages equipment at a mid-size organization. And at Deb's organization, they have a variety of different equipment, but one of which was causing a lot of issues was these monitors that they had. They had these monitors and they were very expensive pieces of equipment and they required calibration every 3 months. So a couple issues that they were struggling with. One, if a monitor missed a calibration and wasn't calibrated on schedule, it was at risk to producing errors when it was used. Another issue was if the monitor was not available when it was needed, it could cause delays in the day's production. So as Deb mentions in her challenge, she says, we've tried multiple ways to track this from whiteboards, spreadsheet, and some software we bought. It all worked okay, but wasn't perfect. Plus, I had to be on site to get the information. So a couple challenges that Deb was facing. The first one is that, some of the common tools that were out there weren't meeting her needs. So one thing to keep in mind here when you're looking at anything to do with equipment monitoring or scheduling, there's a decent amount of off-the-shelf software that is pretty good in this area. So if your needs are general, that might be the way to go. But if you have unique needs like Deb did here, then it is potentially a sign for custom software. And Deb had gotten to a point where she had tried many things. She had tried using whiteboards, using spreadsheets. She had tried multiple different off-the-shelf software, and they just didn't quite meet her unique needs. So she realized she was ready for a custom solution. Another big issue for Deb was really needing remote access to that data and the schedule. So for Deb, we created a custom inventory management system. So it had all the data and schedules for the monitors and the other equipment that they used as well. And a big important part of this was that it was developed as a fully responsive application. So now the floor workers didn't have to go all the way upstairs to an office computer in order to check in and out these monitors. As an operator, they could stay right on the floor. They could use a mobile device, scan a monitor, check it in or out, and Deb would have real-time data about who has that monitor and how long they're scheduled to use it. So she can log in from anywhere now, whether she's at home, whether she's at a different site, and she can see how the monitor inventory is looking and what needs to be calibrated and get real-time status of that. And so that was a big game changer for her. So those are just 3 case studies, a couple examples of what's possible with custom software. In the manufacturing industry, there's multiple different use cases, right? Essentially, if you hear yourself saying, I wish our software could do this, or I wonder if it's possible to do that, it's potentially a sign that it's worth your time to start a conversation exploring the possibility of how custom software could impact your operations. A couple other use cases that we've seen in the past, production scheduling and planning, performance monitoring. So this could be monitoring the performance of equipment or monitoring workers' production rates, all the way to looking at more customer-facing tools that help with customer relationship management and customer service. So there's a wide variety of areas custom software can help. And with that, I'd like to turn it back to Logan.
Thank you, Lori. The potential of custom software is just really limitless. And if you have any pain points, we'd love to hear about them and see what we can come up with together and get that fixed. If you have any questions for Lori, please submit them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. Just a reminder there. And we'll also have our contact information at the end, specifically for Lori if you want to get a hold of her. Now our Director of Intelligent Automation, Lekhi, will give you a high-level tour of robotic process automation and what we're seeing. And spend some time discussing how manufacturers are using this tool to speed up critical processes and reduce costly errors. Nav has 5 years of experience in RPA, the RPA industry, which is in that technology is pretty much a lifetime because it's pretty much brand new. And Nav, over those 5 years, Nav has successfully helped deliver automations and establish centers of excellence for clients across industries, including logistics, BFSI, and workforce management. Yeah, Nav has just about as much experience as you can have with RPA, which is so exciting to have him here at Mutually Human, leading our team of dedicated RPA developers. I seem to have lost my cursor. So yeah, I'm going to have to go through the slides with you, Nav, here.
All good.
We'll
make it work, Logan. Thanks for that introduction and great job, Lori, on going through the custom software piece. So yeah, let's get right into it. So before I start, I do want to get one thing out of the way. Robotic process automation does not mean, the building and usage of physical robots. When I first tell people that I make bots for a living, they immediately just assume I'm building the Terminator or C-3PO or a machine you might find on the production floor. I assure you that's not the case. And regarding the manufacturing industry, physical robots and machinery have become a critical piece in automating tasks, right? That's how companies like Tesla can continue to meet market demand of their product. RPA is a bit different. Okay, all right. So what is RPA? Robotic Process Automation. It's a software technology that makes it easy to build, deploy, and manage software robots. And what these robots do is they emulate human actions that interact with different kinds of systems on a computer. Just like people, software robots can do things like understand what's on a screen. They can complete the right keystrokes or a sequence of keystrokes. They can navigate different systems, identify and extract data, and perform a wide range of other defined actions. But the thing about RPA bots is they can do it much faster and much more consistently than humans. A key takeaway is robots don't need to get up and stretch or take a coffee break. They can continuously perform tasks, like I said, that are manual and high volume in nature. RPA is still a relatively new technology, as Logan mentioned, only really having grown at scale at the enterprise level within the last few years. So to give you an example of what RPA tools create and what a RPA bot looks like, the team here at Mutually Human has prepared a demo of a very simple back office process in action. So what you're going to see here is that the bot that we have built using Automation Anywhere, which I'll dig into in a little bit here. What this bot will do is it'll take customer information from the input file and then enter the extracted data from that file into a mock-up ERP system that we created. So I'll let it run now. It's only a minute and change long. And I'll narrate it as best as I can. So here's the input file. You can see we have a couple of rows of just customer information. Then we're going to pull up our Automation Anywhere control room and run the bot. And what you'll see from here on out is the bot performing all tasks on its own. So it logs in, it goes to clients and starts entering in the information that it's taken from that input file. As you can see, the bot is completely handling this on its own. And like I said, this is an example of a very simple process. It's a back office process with a lot of manufacturing clients. We see that, while the focus is on optimizing how things are run on the production floor, a lot of back office and operational processes get ignored sometimes. So tools like Automation Anywhere and technologies like RPA can really help optimize those tasks as well, leading to cost savings and help drive ROI down the line. So as you can see, it's complete there, and I believe that's the end there. One thing I do want to note here is that as the bot was manually or automatically rather entering in information into the system, we did manually slow down the bot a little bit to show clearly kind of how the bot is proceeding, through the automation. But in an actual production setting, the bot will be even faster than what you saw here today. So why RPA? What are the benefits? Well, the most noticeable benefit of RPA solutions, and as seen in the demo, is the speed at which automations can complete tasks. Another challenge for a lot of businesses is incorrect data entry that's manually done. RPA can alleviate any errors that can be common when manually entering in certain data points. In the manufacturing client case study I'm going to share, the finance team was spending hours into the night completing processes during certain times of the year. And bots were able to do that work much faster, giving the employees time back, ultimately leading to, happier employees, which, made their work a little bit more valued. Another benefit of RPA is greater productivity. Whereas humans have limitations on how much work they can do in a day, robots do not. I've been part of projects where bots have automated, key operational processes for 24 hours a day. In certain processes do see an overload of volume certain times of the year, as I mentioned. And RPA allows you to scale up your solutions and automations effectively. So that flexibility of growing your digital workforce is really a key benefit of RPA. I'm going to jump to the middle point here with cost savings and fast ROI. Those are kind of just no-brainer benefits that we see with RPA. But two overlooked benefits are the improved customer experience and improved employee morale. By giving back time to your employees, especially regarding the work that they're manually completing and using hours out of their day to do, RPA leads to more satisfied employees, right? And kind of with that, you're improving the customer experience as well. You're allowing your employees to focus on more customer-centric problems, as well as meeting SLAs much faster with certain automations, ultimately improving the customer experience. So I've mentioned Automation Anywhere a couple of times now, so I'll kind of dig into our partnership with them. So Mutually Human has, we position ourselves as a strategic partner of Automation Anywhere. Automation Anywhere is, one of the leaders in the RPA space, and a few reasons why we've chosen Automation Anywhere over other tools is that, we truly feel that it's the easiest of all the tools to use. I've delivered bots using other RPA tools, and with Automation Anywhere, the simplicity is its real strength, especially when considering the goal of creating a culture of automation across your organization. Another benefit to Automation Anywhere is that it's the only cloud-native web-based platform in the world at this time, making that scalability that I talked about, a real possibility as opposed to just a pipe dream. This has been especially beneficial for many of Automation Anywhere's manufacturing clients, as it limits the need for IT to support back office and operational processes, and really lets the company focus on reducing costs and spending up to market and enabling the innovation to flourish there. Just a couple high-level stats here. Automation Anywhere has helped organizations deploy over 3 million bots globally, and that's scaling across 90 countries. So they clearly have a really nice footprint in the market right now. So now I'm going to dig into a case study. So this is an example of how Automation Anywhere has really helped drive one of the leading manufacturers in the world drive ROI. So I'm sure many of you have heard of Stanley Black & Decker. If not, they are the #1 manufacturer and provider of tools worldwide. They're also one of the global leaders in commercial security systems. So in 2017, Stanley Black & Decker started their automation journey. Cynthia Holmecki, she took the lead on championing the intelligent automation effort. And so how they started is that, the company started kind of leveraging implementation partners like Mutually Human to kick the program off by starting off with a simple proof of concept of some of their core accounts payable and data processing processes. They soon realized that once they got their initial automations off the ground, that they could really use Automation Anywhere to set up a full-scale program of a lot of these processes and get them running quickly and then delivering that value quickly as well. So by 2018, they had a full up and running RPA program with the 26 bots in production that I have written here. And for that first year, Cynthia's team goal was to reach $800,000 in savings with a stretch goal of 1 million. But as you can see here, they were able to blow those goals out of the water. In 1 year, they were able to see $3.5 million in savings. To realize the value of RPA, you really don't have to go fishing across many lines of business. What Stanley Black & Decker was able to do here, they were able to focus and hone in on one line of business, right? Focus on their finance department and start with the simple tasks that are usually high volume, they're more error prone, and they were able to find those processes in the accounts payable and data processing processes. Another thing to note is, Stanley Black & Decker, they're huge, right? They're a global leader in tools. But what we've noticed across, our clients of different sizes, that the value is distributed pretty evenly. So if you're a smaller organization that wants to take on RPA and start off with a couple of tasks, there's usually a pretty quick turnaround of ROI there as well. And that's really exciting to see. So, we're excited to continue kind of growing our automation program here and continue delivering the value for our clients. So, okay, next slide. In that previous slide, I really covered some of the more explicit benefits, right? Like the cost savings and time savings. But Cynthia's quote here really digs into how automation has provided value that's sometimes hard to measure, right? I spoke about this in the benefits slide. So we can all agree that giving back time to your employees and having them, do work that's more fulfilling, more satisfying, that's ultimately not only a good thing for that individual, right? Because now they're able to find more value in their work, but that's good for the organization at large as well. And so I think this quote here by Cynthia really sums that up nicely. So next, I want to kind of dig into a little bit about how RPA can help reimagine manufacturing. And these are just some of the core, back office and operational processes that we see are usually good candidate processes when it comes to, starting off with RPA in manufacturing. So regarding automating ERP processes, RPA really helps improve the efficiency there, right? By using the bots to handle creating and disseminating reports, process invoices and purchase orders, check payment statuses against SLAs, and really help monitor and manage inventory as well. I talked about purchase order processing. We're actually working with a client right now where we're using Automation Anywhere's IQ bot tool, which is like a document understanding tool. So this client, they get different formats of purchase orders from different clients and different customers, right? So what we're doing is we're using IQ bot to help extract data from each of those PDFs and then input that data into SAP. So, and this is also, like I said, a manufacturing client. So they're, going to find a lot of value by automating that task because they have over 70 people globally handling that process right now. Regarding reporting and administration, you can get timely analytics and generated reports out with RPA. Also, eliminating errors with RPA to manage, bill of materials systems. Regarding that, you can send automatic change alerts and notifications, right? Ensure regulatory compliance and provide real-time and analytics of your systems. And then the last couple points here, RPA bots can work around the clock to track inventory, right? So delivering real-time reporting and inventory analysis, and that really helps you keep pace with demand fluctuations. And I think the key note here is that RPA bots are able to work around the clock to do that, right? And in today's world where everything is moving fast, RPA really helps keep up with that demand. And then lastly, with customer and vendor support, RPA can build attended bots, right? So these are bots that are working alongside a human, right, to do maybe perform some validations or perform other tasks that might need to be triggered manually by a human. Well, RPA attended bots, can work together with your support team. These bots can handle data and systems so that your teams can continue, focusing on providing your customers with the best service, and then really help your resources also continue to build on those customer relationships that you've worked so hard to build. So those are just some examples of how RPA can help in the manufacturing space. I believe that is it for my slides. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen and learn a little bit about RPA. And feel free to reach out to me. I think Logan's going to provide an email address, etc. towards the end if you have any further questions. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Nav. Yeah, one thing we're seeing a huge, kind of end result of RPA and how it can help is, when you're fighting hiring difficulties during expansion. I think everyone knows good employees can be tough to come by right now, which can be a real growth limiter. And RPA can help your existing headcount get more done, while removing the most tedious parts of people's jobs. Everybody loves it. Everybody wins. Yeah, if you have any questions about that, come in the chat. Next, we have Mark. Mark Van Holstyn started Mutually Human in 2006. He's the original human. Mark is going to be talking to you about RealWare and other, XR things that we have going on, which fits in. He's been on the cutting edge of technology since he founded Mutually Human back then. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Logan. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about sort of extended reality devices and how those can play a role in your manufacturing environment. First, to set the stage a little bit, let me talk a little bit about sort of what types of extended reality options are out there in the world. I think we all know and love the reality in which we live, so I don't need to go too much into that. On the polar opposite side of that is virtual reality, which is really typically delivered via wearing a headset of some sort, and is sort of a fully immersive digital environment that you can include people in. And so this is when we're not seeing the real world at all. We're fully in a virtual world. And this is great for times when you need to be able to replicate something that someone cannot be at physically, or when you need to be able to create a virtual world that doesn't exist in the real world at all. And so you can create that experience for them. Stepping back one layer is augmented reality. This is really about layering digital interactions or virtual interactions on top of the real world. So in this environment, you're seeing the real world in front of you, but you'll place digital objects on top of that real world that you can interact with to give sort of this augmented experience that is sort of real life, but with some additional functionality or information or interaction points. And then stepping back one more point, which is where we'll spend a lot of our time focused today, is this entry-level area in what's called assisted reality. And similar to augmented reality, it's sort of, you're still viewing the world around you with some additional information, but in this world, rather than that information being sort of overlaid on top of the real world, it's really more of a standalone display sort of in your periphery vision that you can interact with and see information on. And so that's another step back. That's the sort of really great use case for this is when you need to be able to be a little bit more fully immersed in the real world that you're in, but also have some additional information here. This assisted reality space is a great place for that. A lot of these experiences are delivered through various headsets. Virtual reality will use things like the Oculus headset. Augmented reality uses a lot of HoloLens from Microsoft. And assisted reality, we'll talk a little bit more today about this one, but this is a product from a company called RealWare and their headset. Kind of like Nav talked about our relationship with Automation Anywhere and that partnership. We've also developed a partnership with RealWare to help bring this product to market in this manufacturing space. And then also, as Sir Lori talked about, provide custom solutions for this headset to really fit right in with the needs that our customers have. So the RealWare headset is a 100% hands-free device. So you wear it on your head and you'll interact with it completely via voice. So it's just like you'd interact with Siri or Google Assistant on your phone. You're going to act 100% through voice to do everything that you would need to do on the RealWare headset. In addition to that, it's designed and meant for these sort of extreme environments, these manufacturing spaces. It's rugged, dust-proof, waterproof, can withstand drops, and is really meant for existing in some of these more rugged environments. In addition to that, the device itself is very flexible. It's got a boom arm with which can adjust for any head size or eyewear that you may need, whether they have no eyewear, they need safety glasses, they wear glasses themselves. It's a very adjustable device, and it has an adjustable work band as well that you can use to wear it on your head and adjust the size and fitment for anybody that needs to wear it. The battery is designed as a full shift battery, so you can use it for a full shift, but it's also hot swappable. So if you need to swap it out and throw another one in, you can do that really quickly and keep on going. I talked about the display a little bit. This basically has a display in your peripheral vision that you can control where it sits and what it looks like, and it effectively acts like a 7-inch tablet display that you see there, and can display information on and interact, like I said, with via voice to get anything done. It's got built-in speakers so that you can, if it needs to communicate with you via audio, it can do that. And they're sitting right up here at your ear level, and so they're really easy to use even in a noisy environment. It's got a built-in camera with LED flashlight that you can use to take video and image captures if you need to do that as part of your work experience. I'll talk a little bit more about that in some of the case studies. And then it's a fully connected device, whether you need to connect over Wi-Fi or you need to exist over LTE, maybe out in the field. You can connect to it in a variety of ways, as well as it has technology in it to allow to understand positioning, whether that's using things like GPS to understand where you are in the world, or using things like gyros to understand sort of the orientation of the device itself. And lastly, it's PPE compatible, so if you need to wear it, it can clip onto a hard hat and be used in this fashion as well, without the headband. So here's this device that we've got, but why this assisted reality thing? And I think you're going to see some themes and overlaps from what Lori and Nav both talked about. The big themes are here is really about increased productivity and efficiency, reducing operational errors. Maybe some unique things to this is being able to enhance worker safety by giving them this experience while also keeping their hands free, and improving their access to information, both digital information as well as information in the form of expert accessibility, if they need to collaborate or talk with someone else on that. I'll go through some of these in details in these case studies. And lastly, reducing costs, increasing the productivity and efficiency helps drive down costs of doing some of these things. So I'll walk through 3 different case studies. And the first one here is a sort of a step-by-step instructions case study. And so the problem space that exists here is we've got a lot of people who are frontline technicians that need to do a series of tasks in these manufacturing environments, or maybe they're doing maintenance or repair work. And they need to typically follow a pretty strict set of instructions line by line. And so we'll often see those folks either be forced to memorize that information so that they can efficiently do their job while following those instructions, or have to maybe fumble around with some paper documents or a binder that allows them to make sure they don't miss any steps, or a checklist or something like that. And what those sort of solutions do is it often leads to mistakes because I forgot a step, or inefficiencies because I've got to go back and forth between looking at this document and doing the work that I'm doing. And so, with a headset like the RealWear headset, we can build an application that ties into all of your internal systems that allows us to put those instructions front and center on the device within the peripheral vision of the user performing their task. They are able to continue to keep their hands busy performing the tasks that they need to perform, while also seeing what the next step is that they need to do on the display. And when they complete a step, they can just with a simple voice command say next, and it'll move on to the next step for them and allow them to keep moving really quickly without shifting back and forth between a checklist or some physical paper and the work that they're doing, and without forgetting something because they've been forced to memorize the whole thing. In addition to this, because we have this headset on now, they can do some other interesting things, like in the course of their task, if they need to capture some information, they can either dictate information, or we can capture a picture or a short video of what they're doing to record for maybe their QA purposes or whatever they need to do to record that for the future. And this is a great tool to be able to use then in the training environment. If we need to be able to bring someone up and train them, they can wear this headset just like they would do in their real work, but it'll sort of guide them step by step through the process. Our second case study focuses in on this sort of remote expert experience. You know, this last couple of years has meant we've spent a lot less time together, and oftentimes we have not had the physical access to people that we've had in the past. And so, you know, we've had a lot of people run into situations where, you know, the frontline working here doesn't have access to an expert that they need, but they're trying to fix something or solve something or do some task on site. And so the RealWear headset can be integrated with solutions like Microsoft Teams or Zoom video conferencing, and allow you to actually visually allow experts to visually, you know, call in to what that expert is doing, and you can have a two-way audio conversation as well as the expert can see what you're seeing through the camera, both the machine or the equipment you're working on, the tasks that you're doing, and it can allow for a much quicker way at providing solutions to helping those frontline workers solve the problems that they have, drastically reducing downtime, reducing costs from travel time and stuff like that, and really being able to connect those experts directly into what's being done on the front line without having any of those unnecessary delays. And then a third case study here is sort of in an inspection environment. And so, in this world, we worked with a mid-sized energy company that was conducting inspections, and during this inspection process, right, they're off doing a bunch of the tasks that they need to do for this inspection, but had to continuously pause to capture information, maybe take their gloves off, type some stuff into their smartphone, write something down on a piece of paper to record all of this information. Oftentimes while maybe climbing a ladder or navigating through a tight space, and so it was a very inefficient process. It was at times unsafe for them to be doing that stuff, and so because of that, they often even didn't record some of that information, or just sort of stored it in the back of their mind so that they could capture it when they're done with the inspection and get back to their truck. Although we all know we'll forget things by the time we get there, so it would lead to imperfect data that would be captured in these environments. And so the solution that we sort of explored for them was using the RealWear headset, using a simple voice-controlled application on there. They could go through the process of doing this inspection. Like the first example, it would guide them through sort of step-by-step of this inspection. But this one was really focusing on capturing information and allowing them to dictate notes and information into the process, as well as capture photos and videos to be stored with that inspection. And we were able to integrate that process that they could do on their RealWear headset directly into their back office systems, their ERP systems, so that information could flow naturally into their overall business processes. So those are the summary of the few examples that I have to share about sort of using this assisted reality. There's probably a lot more we could go into in the future in the augmented and virtual reality spaces. That's what I have to share for today. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Logan.
Great, thank you, Mark. All right, let's check the chat, see what kind of questions we have. All right, we have one right here for on that. Just a question about: do you see more customers leaning towards assisted reality or versus augmented reality in the manufacturing space? And what are you seeing people make that decision on?
Yeah, we see them doing both of those, using both assisted and augmented reality. I think that the assisted reality works really well, especially when we want to allow the person to be very present in the real world, because we're able to easily shove that screen out of the way if we need to, and it can be sort of removed from your point of view, and you can be fully immersed in the real world around you. And so when that's an important aspect, that's a really good way to go about it. The augmented reality world works really well in situations where it's really important to superimpose things when we need to detect an object in the real world and superimpose information on that object in a very particular place, that's where that sort of augmented reality place starts to really shine.
Mm-hmm. All right, hopefully that answered your question. Next, we have one for Lori. Says, if I wanted to get started in custom software, what does the first step look like? How does that process get going?
Sure. So getting started with custom software, and honestly with RPA or any of the wearable devices. So over the years, we've really worked hard to essablish a process that works really well for our clients. So in terms of the first step, at least if engaging with Mutually Human, our first step is a free consultation. So it's a meeting. It usually is 1 to 3 hours. We focus on understanding the challenges that you're trying to solve, hearing your ideas that you have for software, and brainstorming together based on our years of experience of building software, how custom software could help solve the challenges that you're facing. From there, we have a step in our process called a custom plan. So the way we think about this is if you were going to build a custom house, you'd first work with an architect to come up with the plans for that house. So the same is true for software. During the custom plan process, we work really hard to identify all the different features and functionality that we think would be really valuable in the software, and we categorize and prioritize those. We also create visuals, so wireframes, so that we can all start seeing how those screens might come to life. And an important output, because one of the other really common questions we get when we talk about custom software is how much does custom software cost? And one of the important outputs of the custom plan process is to give an estimate of the cost and timing for software. So software development in general tends to have a bad reputation of going over time and over budget. And so at Mutually Human, we've worked really hard to build this process. So the custom plan really helps give the most accurate view into the timing and budget of a project. It also is an opportunity for you to really look at what's essential in your software, what needs to be built now versus what can be built later. So, like I said, I think that's true getting started with custom software, and I think similar sort of process with RPA and with anything in the wearable space, whether it's VR or the assisted reality that Mark walked through with the headset. So hopefully that answers the question, but very specifically, getting started with Mutually Human is free consultation. And I know, Logan, you'll have some contact information. We also have a button on our website to schedule a free consultation if that's something you're interested in, to continue to think about different ways software could help your organization.
Great. Then there's a question for Nav here. It says, for RPA to work, don't you have to have the data presented in a consistent fashion on a specific database? Like, for example, no customer POs on their forms, etc.
Yeah, so thanks for that question. For RPA to really succeed, it does help to have the input data be structured or consistent, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on a specific database. Like in the demo that I showed, that input data was coming from a CSV. So we see a lot of processes start off by just using a really clean, structured Excel or CSV file. We've also seen processes that are triggered by certain emails coming in. So if there is a format of an email coming in with specific data, that can help trigger a automation as well. As long as the email format is consistent and structured. Regarding the example of POs, so as I mentioned, we use tools like IQBot, and to kind of dig into that a little bit deeper. So say there is a customer with a purchase order that comes in, it's a PDF, and the kind of data that is needed for the process is scattered throughout that PDF, right? Well, what IQBot does is, it helps create what are called learning instances. So each form or each format of a PDF will have a separate learning instance where, we use Automation Anywhere to extract the data and then kind of spit that data out into a CSV, right? So then for each transaction, the input into the ERP system or any kind of system is taken from the output of IQBot, which is at CSV. So I hope that clarifies that a little bit. It doesn't need to be on a specific database, although taking data from databases and using that as input for RPA is always great, because tools like Automation Anywhere make it extremely easy to connect to databases and use any data you need to from there.
Great, thank you, Nav. Here is the contact information for our subject matter experts if you need to reach out and with any specific questions that you need answered broadly. Please feel free to reach out to them. I'll leave that up for a second. It will also be in the recording. Speaking of which, just a quick cleanup. You will receive an email with the link to the recording tomorrow, as well as a link to the survey that will also pop up after this webinar concludes. So the survey will be in there, and please do fill that out. That is what will enter you to win our Amazon gift cards, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, great, awesome to cover these three topics. It's fun to see how they intertwine and kind of leverage. We can leverage multiples of these technologies to get whatever problems you have taken care of and help you with any pain points. So please feel free to reach out if there's anything that you want to talk about. And that wraps us up today. Thank you for joining our webinar. Really appreciate your time. Hope you found this valuable, and enjoy the rest of your day.